So you want to make Roblox clothes. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make clothes similar to this. To start, you'll need paint.net. It's a free drawing app, basically. It's what I use to make this. Once you have it installed, you're going to want to go to the top right and click on the settings icon. From here, you're going to want to copy my settings. Brush size to 1. Then, as you scroll down, you want to change this option. You want it from anti-alias rendering to aliased rendering. It makes it so that the lines are a lot more solid and pixely than, say, if it was off. You don't want this in your clothing, at least not in hardline and softline clothing. Now that you have that, you're going to want to get yourself some assets. I'll be providing some links down below, but with that, you're going to want to go to Winterthal and Snowvale, and you're going to want to go to the public assets. In the pinned messages, there's going to be a lot of public packs, and if you can just scroll through there and find whatever you want. There's also others like Anarchy's Apocalyptic Apparel, which isn't really used much anymore. However, it is a good place to find assets, or old asset packs, as seen in the pins here. So with that out of the way, you're going to want to open your asset pack. I'll be using Darth's version 2, just because it's my preferred clothing pack, and I'm also lazy and don't want to create my own asset in this video. So you're going to want to go to, well, depending on what you want to make, I'm just going to be making a basic shirt and pants. You're going to want to go to shirts, choose the shirt you want. Here it is. Now that you have your asset open, you're going to want to press S. That's how you go from your brush tool to your select tool. If you press S multiple times, you can change between the select tool. Currently it's on the rectangle, lasso, circle, and magic wand. I'll get more into the magic wand later. But for now, you're going to want to drag your select tool all the way across, and then press M and drag it down 2 so that this little bars is not there. Like that. You're going to want to do this for all the rest as well. Now that I have one arm like this, I'm going to drag the select box down like this, hold down Control, and select the rest of the arm like that. That allows you to add. It's the add union part. Hold Control while drawing with the left mouse button. Press Control C, then Control V. You can select it. Make sure your sampling is on nearest neighbor, otherwise it will look weird. And drag it over to the exact pixel here. Then you're going to want to same here. Also, if you're wondering how I am zooming in and out so fast, Control B is the hotkey to do that. Now that you have this done, add a new layer. There's no hotkey for this as far as I'm aware. Drag it down below. Rename it. Renaming is very important, I would like to mention. Because otherwise, if you're doing a larger project, you will have... It will be just very difficult for you to understand what is going on. I must admit, I am not very good at naming my layers, but it also adds a lot more time to having to do stuff. Now that you have this, you're going to want to open a color palette. Go for this brown color. And then to quickly change to the paint bucket tool, you press F. Or at least that's what I have it bound to. I'm not sure if that's the default. But yes, you press F. Now there's multiple ways to go around a hardline. I prefer to go softline. I don't do hardline. I'm just not a fan of it. You can press the S key. I think it's... I don't remember how many. Press the S key 4 times to open the magic wand. Hold down Shift, click on the green here, click on the green, press K, click on the white here. Make sure you're not pressing down Control, otherwise you're gonna sample from all the layers together, which is gonna give you this weird color which you don't want. Press K and then click. Now you're gonna want to press backspace. That fills in the entire color here, as you can see. Now do the same for all the other colors. Now when you go to the lining, it depends on what style you're going for. If you're going for hard line, then you leave it as is. But if you're going for soft line, then you're gonna want to grab this color here, fill in this here, hold shift on the lining, and then press backspace. As you can tell, it makes it look softer, which is the goal of soft line, as opposed to hard line where it is a solid black line. Now that you have that done, you're almost done. You're gonna want to hold shift on the gray here, wherever. Usually it'll be either a bright color, like a red or something, but here it's a gray. You're gonna want to leave this layer as is, but you want to go down to your color layer and press delete. Now you can go back to the lining layer, the background layer, and click and do the same thing and press delete. Now that you have that, you can open up your folder and then go to your effects where you have your fabrics and dirt and shaders. I'm gonna use some very basic stuff just for the sake of this. Now that you have your files in, you want to drag them below the background layer, hold shift on the empty space, then delete. Now you're gonna want to fiddle around with the opacity. Personally, I go for a little bit of a stronger opacity, and depending on what I want, I either keep it on normal or go overlay, but I do recommend messing around with your blend modes. You want to do the same thing for all the other layers. That's really about what looks right to you. Now for the wrinkles, I suggest using a overlay layer. It just makes it look better. Now for this wrinkle, I lower it a lot because otherwise it looks very, very funky. Now for the shading, I do have some recommendations. First, put it on overlay. It always makes shadings look a little bit better. Now, I always recommend putting it around 90, but again, it depends on what you're making. If it's a white shirt, then you might want to make it a little bit higher. If it's a shirt, you might want to make it a little bit lower, and on a different blend mode. Now, from here, you are pretty much done, but if you want to add a few more things, like dirt, I have the Divert Dirt asset here. I think that's how you pronounce it. Add the layer. Now, you can keep the colors as is, but personally I'm not a fan of that. So press Control Shift U. Now you're going to want to lower the saturation and the brightness until it looks like dirt. Now, remove it from the transparent parts. And then keep the blend mode normal and just put it on a little bit. You just want these slight imperfections in your clothing. Now, if you want to go really in detail and make it look really dirty, you can do what I'm doing now. So hold shift on the lining, add a new layer, backspace, deselect, effects. You probably won't see as many effects as I have because I have a bunch of plugins installed that I do not use, but you're going to want to use the Frosted Glass plugin. It comes with paint.net. So you're going to see it does this sort of jaggedy effect. We don't want that yet. We want the smoothness to be up so that it gives it a sort of dirty blending, if that makes sense. You can change the maximum scatter radius to whatever you like. I like having it around 4 or 5, but that's just how I do. I want to subtract it from the transparent areas again, and then I personally remove it from the lined areas too, just so that the lines don't get too dark and remain the the same, the same soft lininess of them. Now you're gonna wanna, I sometimes change between overlay and normal. I'm gonna keep it on normal this time. And I'd lower it to about a half opacity. Now, it's not a lot, but it does add just enough to make it look dirty. That's how you make the shirt. Forgot if I said I was gonna make pants. I'm gonna make pants anyways, because I'd like to. Right, now that we have a jeans asset, you're gonna notice that it has these lines still. There's no way to get rid of them other than how we've done it before. I'm sorry. But the way that you will remove them is different than before, because you can't just copy and paste this side over here because it has differences. You're gonna need to just remove all of these by yourself. Now that you have this done, you're going to go to your palette and realize that none of these colors fit. So you're going to close your palette and then choose, well, there's multiple ways you can do this. You can choose a color here and adjust the value and saturation, or you can go in here and get a jeans texture like this. As you have it done like that, you're going to realize that this asset looks terrible by itself. So, you're going to want to, at least this is how I do it, I don't use this texture. I just use it to get a coloring. And I press K to select color, and then I usually bump it up to 30 pixels or so, and then change it back down to 1 pixel, and then move that, add another layer, drag it back down, and boom, you have your jeans coloring. Now you can go back here and fill in the colors. Now that you have that done, you're going to want to get a proper jean texture. There we go. These. Now they don't quite fit down here, but that can be fixed easily by just copying and pasting it. Easy fix. Now you're gonna want to texture from here. It doesn't matter that it's over there, it doesn't do anything. So, it doesn't appear on the finished clothing, so. Go through the same steps as usual. Whoops. I'm gonna throw my own background over it because it looks terrible like that. There we go. Now, drag it below. I usually do overlay for textures like this, and then I lower the opacity. Now for jeans, I know a lot of people like to have highlighting here. I'll throw on the keybind for whatever I'm doing now. But you want to have your anti-aliasing, or you want to have your aliasing on, and then you're gonna want to, you're gonna want to lower your hardness down all the way, and your opacity to about half, and draw like this. Okay, now that you have it like that, it's not enough to just have it like that. You're gonna want to go to your effects, blur, Gaussian blur. You want a pretty large radius, because otherwise it looks funky without it. Change the blend mode to overlay, and then lower the opacity till it's not too apparent. And then you just go through the same steps as before. Going to want to hide this layer, like the layer that has any lines around here, like these 2 pixel wide lines. You're gonna want to hide that. Okay, You're then going to want to drag in your own background template and drag it over everything. Now that you have it like that, you can do Control-Shift-S and then save it in. I have two separate folders, one for the PDN files and one for the PNG files, just so that I can save both, since having only the PNG file means that if you want to make any changes or use it again later in another project, you won't be able to. Now that you have that done, you can upload them to Roblox, or alternatively, you can just slap them on a showcase, because some people don't like uploading their clothes to Roblox, and actually do just sell them off to Roblox groups. Like, stopped recording in the middle of doing the showcase part, so I'll re-recording it now, since I was an idiot. But basically, you wanna, wanna grab your background template, make sure it's the asset version so you can drag these properly. You want to be within these lines here. Don't want to go over it, otherwise it'll be funky and it won't line up to your showcase. You want to put it on a new layer so that it's above the skin layer or whatever you're doing for yours. Grab the arms, place them on each side, the proper sides. It's pretty simple compared to the rest of clothing making. But for pants, you want to add a layer below the shirt layer. But you continue to do the same things. You just grab it, paste it, put it into place. It's